The fairy tale promised magic, but its origins are woven from fear, violence, and desperate lies. Long before bedtime stories, Rumpelstiltskin was whispered as a demonic household spirit, invoked in a world where a single boast could sentence a daughter to death. Why did the real bargain demand a child? And why did the Brothers Grimm work so hard to hide the darkness beneath the gold? The truth changes everything. Beneath the surface of the familiar tale, Rumpelstiltskin belongs to an older world, one haunted by household spirits and the constant threat of supernatural retribution. The earliest written trace appears in 1577, when Johann Fischart described a game called Rumpelstilt oder der Poppart, invoking a figure both playful and menacing. The name itself is a warning. Rumpeln for the rattling noise of a poltergeist, stilts for a spindly stick or stilt, and chen marking something small but not harmless. In German folklore, a Rumpelstilts was never just a goblin. He was a shapeshifter at the edge of the hearth, a presence blamed for missing tools, spoiled milk, or a child who vanished in the night. Across Europe, variants multiplied. In England, Tom Tit-Tot spun threats beneath the thatch. Scotland's Whoopity Story, Iceland's Gillitrut, and Italy's Tremotino all echoed the same bargain, an impossible task, a desperate promise, and a name that held the key to survival. These spirits were not comic relief. Kobolds and poltergeists could reward but also punish, sometimes violently, if rituals were neglected or bargains broken. Medieval court records from Hildesheim tell of Hodekin, a house sprite who killed when insulted, blurring the line between protector and predator. Scholars like Maria Tatar and Jack Zipes point to the tale's adult warnings. The terror of a debt that cannot be paid, the fear of losing a child to forces you cannot name. The power of names runs deep in these stories, a relic of the belief that to name a demon was to bind or banish it. Rumpelstiltskin's origins are not in bedtime comfort, but in the cold logic of folklore, where every promise has a price and every spirit demands respect. A single boast in a crowded marketplace sets the trap. The miller, desperate to impress, claims his daughter can spin straw into gold, a lie born of poverty and pride. Word travels fast. Soon royal guards drag the girl to the palace, past stone walls cold as the fear in her chest. The king, obsessed with wealth, wastes no time. He locks her in a windowless chamber, straw piled high to the ceiling, a battered spinning wheel the only tool. She faces a command: turn this worthless straw into gold by morning, or face death. The door slams shut. Outside, the king's court feasts on roasted meat and honeyed wine, but inside, the air tastes of dust and dread. In early modern Germany, the gap between straw and gold was more than symbolic. Straw was fit for animals, scattered on stable floors, worth a handful of pennies. Gold thread used for royal robes and church vestments could fetch a price 100 times higher. To demand such a miracle was to demand the impossible, an act of violence disguised as a test. The spinning room, spinstube, was a familiar world for women like her, a place of hard labor, whispered stories, and the constant pressure to prove worth. But here, the stakes are not marriage or reputation. They are life or death. With dawn approaching and no hope in sight, the miller's daughter is left with nothing but the lie that trapped her, and the hunger of a king who values gold above all else. Night falls again, and the spinning chamber grows colder. The king's impossible demand has drawn something older than pity, a figure who steps from the shadows, small and twisted, eyes glinting with secrets. He offers salvation, but every miracle has its price. First, a necklace, then a ring, each payment more desperate than the last. On the third night, when the girl's hands tremble and her hope is gone, the bargain turns monstrous. The stranger's voice is a whisper. "Promise me your firstborn child, and you will live." In the world of changelings and household spirits, this is no idle threat. Folklore is filled with tales of children taken by kobolds or poltergeists, vanished because a parent broke a taboo or failed to keep a bargain. To name the spirit is to bind it, yet here the name remains hidden, and the contract is sealed in dread. The power of names, the terror of losing a child, these are the real stakes behind the spinning wheel's steady whir. When the Brothers Grimm first published Rumpelstiltskin in 1812, the ending was almost subdued. The little man, outwitted, simply fled into the darkness and never returned. But as the collection grew in popularity, a new pressure crept in. Parents and clergy denounced the tales as too harsh, too pagan, too unsettling for young minds. The Grimms, torn between fidelity to their sources and demands for decency, began to revise. Wilhelm Grimm worried about the story's brutality, yet the changes were not always toward comfort. By 1857, the final edition delivered a far more violent fate. Rumpelstiltskin, in a fit of rage, drove his foot into the ground and tore himself in two. This gruesome spectacle was not a relic of ancient folklore, but the product of editorial hands seeking both drama and moral clarity. Official records, letters, and annotated manuscripts reveal how the tale was transformed, softened in some places, sharpened in others, to suit the anxieties of a changing world. The original warnings remained, but now hidden beneath layers of ink and intention, proof that fairy tales were never meant to be safe. They were rewritten by those who feared what the old stories truly said. Fairy tales once warned of bargains struck in desperation. Today, we still trade secrets and names for power, sometimes at a terrible cost. The oldest stories never truly leave us. Subscribe for more dark origins.